Hey everyone. So, we're teaching remotely, virtually, telehealth, teletherapy. We're doing it all. And the miracle workers that we are teaching toddlers and infants through the computer. But it's okay. Like I said, we're miracle workers and we can do this. And at the end of the day, we're going to work through it, right? This is a skill. This is a time for us to learn a new skill. If we already know how to teach virtually, this is a time to enhance it. And yeah, this is going to take our teaching, our work to a whole other level. Okay? So, first off, I would like to explain what we're going to do today. So, today, what we're doing is that we're going to learn something new. I'd like to teach you how to better organize, plan your sessions. Why? Because I don't know about you, but when I first realized that I had to teach through a computer to a 1 year old, I was a little bit nervous. And I felt that I didn't have any control of the situation, to be very honest with you. And so I put on my thinking cap and I thought, what can I do to gain control of the situation? Because because I want to offer the best of me to the families. So I did some research and I looked into my own past as a school teacher. I used to teach in a public school for 5 years, 6 years, many years ago. And so, what can I do? How can I take control of the situation and make it better? So, I came to two conclusions. One, my sessions will now be basically coaching the parents. I will not be working directly with the kids, obviously. So I will be there guiding the parents. So the sessions are based off of what are their concerns and where is a child developmentally. Okay, great. We all have experience in that. So we already got half of the battle. So how are we going to organize our sessions? That's where this all comes into play. I decided to create a plan for all of my sessions. It creates a routine. It doesn't mean that all the sessions will look the same, but what it does mean is that there is a sense of structure to my day. I'm sorry, to my sessions, and I can better prepare for my families, i.e., I can be the best teacher, the best provider for my families, and I can still be my happy, cheerful, and most importantly, professional self. So today I like to go over that plan. Now, I'm not going to show you my template because one, that's kind of boring, and two, this template can be used with any software that you have. I use Google Drive because of the ease of it and the flexibility of it. And I just used a Google Doc. But you can use whatever you like. If you prefer Microsoft Word, go ahead. If you prefer a Mac program, go ahead. Whatever you prefer. But right now, I just want to give you like the essence of it because that way you can create plans that are tailored to your families and to your personality and your expertise. Okay, so let's get started. So let's move this over and let's get started with the first one. Okay, so my plan typically has about 9 sessions. So if you see me looking at the side, that's me looking at my actual plan. Um, so my plan has about 9 or 10 sections, and each section has a purpose. Okay, so let's get started with section number 1. So section number 1. So very simple, I write the child's name and the parent's name. The reason I write the parent's name is because I work with a lot of kids. I work with a lot of families. And I don't just want to call them mommy all day long. They have a name and I do want to use them. This is just My opinion is that since they have a name, I want to use them, and I just creates that kind of professional relationship that I want with my families. So I write it down. It's a reminder. That's all it is. Um, Section number 2, I write down the date of the session as well as which session it is. Is it the first session or the 20th session? We're not there yet. With none of my family's not there yet. We're just getting started. Um, but the reason that I wrote that down is because I do like to look back at my plans um, and see how is it progressing. Are the activities working? Does the child need more support? If it's going really slowly, if the child is um, if these the lessons are going very slowly, then that means that the child needs more support. And the only way I can know that is if I know how long did it take for the child to learn this. Um, so yeah, we want to be as efficient as possible. Working with children under 3, time is not in our favor, and time just flies by, and we want to take advantage of every single session. The way we do that is by keeping track of it. So number 1, the child's info. Number 2, the date and the session number. Number 3, the goal. What is the goal of the session? Now, for me personally, if it's like the first few sessions done virtually, the goal is quite simply to get the child comfortable with the setup. Um, so pretty simple. If it's a child that whose family I've been talking to for a while, then I already know from the past what the family's concerns are, where the child is developmentally. So I would just input the goals in there. I'm sorry, I would input the concern and the developmental goals in there in the goal section. Number 4. So number 4 is essentially review the homework. So at the end of every session, I do give my families homework. And funny thing is that when I don't give them homework, they ask for it. So don't be afraid to ask to give your families homework. They want it. Um, the homework can be something as simple as um, I don't know, it could be something as simple as repeating the activity that we just did. But we'll get into that in a second at the very end when we do the actual homework. But essentially, the 4th section, it's review the homework. I would say something like, last time we met, we were working on XYZ. How is that going? Very simple. Okay, so the next section, the next section is joint planning and assessment. So section number. Joint planning and assessment essentially means that I ask the parents, what are your concerns? Or I ask the parents, where's the child at right now? So let's backtrack. What are your concerns? Well, how can you ask that? You don't want to be too direct. So here's some questions that you may ask to get some of that information. You can ask, how can it be most helpful today? Um, or you can quite simply ask, I'd love to help you with XYZ. Is that still something he's struggling with? To know where the child is developmentally or where the child is now, you can ask, so tell me what's happening now. That's a really good way to find out what are the parents' concerns. What have you tried and how did it go? And what change would you like to see in the next 3 months? This is a really thought-provoking question, and it's a good idea to ask this question within the first week, because that way you can plan for that. Sometimes they want something that takes a couple of sessions, so you need to plan for it. And this is a great question to ask, so that way you can get that information. Next section, section number 6. This is where the provider would teach. So I would basically start off this section with, okay, great, thank you so much for all this information. So I love to talk about, or one thing I want to show you is, and then that's when you go into what do you want to teach them today? What do you want to show the parents? You go into it, you explain it, and most importantly, you explain the purpose. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you explain the purpose of the activity, how this helps, they will better, they will see why it's so important, and they'll be willing to try. Because I mean, this is true for anyone, just for not for only for parents, but people are more willing to try things when they know why it's so important. So so yeah, I would explain the activity and the rationale or the purpose of the activity. And don't go into major jargon. You can just simply say it's something that will help the child with their grasp. It's something that can help the child problem solve. It's something that will help the child play with other kids. Try to be as try not to use too much jargon in your language, which I'm sure you already know, with the parents, because you want them to be able to understand what is going on. Okay, next, section number 7, action and observation. So this is where the parents try the activity, this wonderful activity that you explained, and you observe. Now, what everyone is different. Everyone has a different style. My personal style is that I like to explain, observe, give feedback, and have the parents try again. And while they're trying again, I may give feedback, immediate feedback right away, depending on the parents, or I may give feedback again maybe afterwards. But I try to tailor it according to the parents and what they like. Okay, so some things that I may say at the beginning of this section, sort of to like let the parents know that this is what we're doing. I would say, would you be willing to try this while I help? Or let's see what happens when you dot dot dot. Would it be okay if I watched while you dot dot dot? And at the end of every single time that they do the activity, after the feedback, I ask, was that what you usually see? Or have you seen this before? Is this new or is this typical? Because I've noticed that a lot of times parents may say, oh, I've never seen little Johnny do this, little Jane do this, but this is great. Or they may say, oh my gosh, I didn't expect them to do this. Like, it's such a struggle to get them to do it, and this little strategy helped my child. This is fantastic. Or they may say, oh yeah, I've seen this a ton of times, which is okay. It's good. It informs our lessons. It informs our section, our service provision. So it's all good. It's all good. Okay, so next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So section number 8 is reflection. So to start this section, I say, how did you reflect? What did you notice? I actually ask this at every single session, even with my daily sessions, the families I see every single day, Monday through Friday. And it doesn't get old. It honestly doesn't get old, because the families are able to vocalize, what did they see? Because this is not only about us. We have to see also what the parents saw. And sometimes they may see something that is new for them, and it's good for us to know. Okay, so what did you notice? And then I may say something like, oh, I noticed that Johnny did this. This is awesome. Make sure you let the parents know the great things that you noticed in the sessions, because it gives them feedback on what to praise. We are models, not only to the child, but to the parents. So by saying, oh, I noticed that Johnny shared his toys today with you, and he was making a lot of eye contact. Mom may say, oh, really? I didn't notice that. And then, I may say, yeah, this is great. If you do see this, I would definitely praise him, because this is really good. Um, so yeah, so, and the last section is homework. So section number 9, what? 9. So section number 9, homework. I ask, I either give an assignment that's not real, that's a little bit different, maybe adapted to from what we just did, or I may ask them to repeat the activity with the child. 9 times out of 10, I usually have them repeat the same activity with the child. We just did it. I want them to try it now with the child without me being there with my eyes or my voice. Um, so usually what I say is, from what we tried today, what can you imagine practicing this week? So I would definitely recommend giving something to do. When you ask this question, then you'll be able to see what the parents realistically, with everything that's going on, what can they do? And if they themselves set that goal, like, oh yeah, I can do the first activity that we did, I can totally do that tonight with little Johnny. Okay, great. And then the next day, we'll go back and review on that. Oh, last time we met, we were working on X and X with Johnny. How is that going? Okay, make sure to always check it on the homework, because why give homework if you're not even going to check? And it also, um, it's it gives the parents strategies to practice, because the more we practice, the more we improve. Okay. So that's basically it. So just to recap, the 9 sections in my lesson plan, I guess, are the child. So number 1, the child. Number 2, the date, session number. 3, the goal. 4, the reviewing the homework of the last session. Number 5, joint planning and assessment. We plan the session with the parents. Number 6 is the teaching. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. So within the teaching, um, it's not only, you don't only have to teach just one thing to the parents. You can teach multiple activities or strategies to the parents in a session. So just go by how the child is feeling that day and how are the parents feeling that day. So I would definitely just keep that in mind. It's not just one thing that you're teaching, it's several things. And then number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7 is action and observation. You observe the activity, the what you just recommended, the strategies. Number 8, reflection. What did you notice? And number 9 is the homework. What will the parent do? Okay, so I hope this is really helpful. Yeah, and just see this opportunity, this time as an opportunity to learn or enhance a new skill. We just have to be flexible with what's going on, and it's not the same. It's not. But the more prepared we are, and the more calm we are, and the more professional we are, the better the families will feel. The families are going through a lot, and we want to be able to give them at least this time, this session, where things actually are organized and they make sense. Everything else in the world may not, but at least for this hour or half hour or whatever it may be, they know what to expect. So I hope this is helpful, and stay safe, stay well, and good luck.